Hello and welcome. This section is called style. So which style are we going to talk about here and why is it important for the SAT? We're going to learn about the style of the text. Maybe you have read a few books in your lifetime. You have read different types of books. Some of them were science fiction, maybe others were literature. And in each book, the author uses a different style. Some authors use many adjectives. Other authors like to be very straightforward and simple. And many authors like to use complicated words rather than using simple words. All of that defines the style of the author. But the style of the text is something that you should definitely pay attention to while solving some SAT problems. It is very well known that on the SAT, they are usually asking about contextual stuff related to style. Many choices in such questions are going to be similar. You can pause the video and read the choices. But the difference between the choices is actually going to be the style. Some choices will be using a more relaxed slang style. That means the style of text or speech that is used on the street or in our daily conversations. But in other choices, you will see academic style with complicated words and maybe a very different grammar. Either way, there are a couple of rules that you have to know about the style of the text in order to solve such questions correctly, and I will define all of these rules today and give you examples, and we will see how to use those rules to answer SAT questions correctly. So rule number one is you have to avoid using slang. SAT is an academic exam. That means in the verbal section of the SAT, you will only be dealing with academic English language. What does it mean, academic? Academic is the level of language that is used in university or academia. And such a style does not include slang. What are some examples of slang words? Well, here they are: cool, stuff, extra, super, bunch, for real, and wow. These are just some of the examples of slang words. If you are living in the 21st century, you are very well familiar with slang. We use it in our daily conversations, and it's a part of our lives. But on the SAT, using slang is going to be a critical mistake. In the answer choices, if you ever see one of these words, you should be suspicious about that answer choice. So, I'm going to explain one example problem now, and we are going to notice how the style in choices is different. Out of many, one experience on June 20th, 1965, murmurs of excitement filled a Kingston, Jamaica auditorium, where way more people than were expected gathered for commencement services at the University of the West Indies. Along with the 400 graduates, many people had come to hear the words of the year's commencement speaker, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What we see here is a story about a certain meeting where many people gathered. Basically, there's a crowd and they're going to listen to somebody's speech. And we can see that there is no slang used in the text except for the darkened part. Way more people than were expected. If you remember, these types of words, cool, stuff, extra, super, bunch, wow, way more, way better, these types of words are not academic. They're used in daily conversations. So we need to look at the choices that have slang and eliminate them. So choice B, as I said, way more, way. Like this type of a word, way more, way less, way better, way stronger, is not an academic word because it comes from the improper usage of a language. What does it mean, way? Way is the road. But when you say way bigger, that means much bigger. If you want to say something like this with academic English, you have to say much more people than were expected. Way is basically a slang word, and therefore choice A is going to be incorrect in this case because our text is academic, but the choice A is not academic. It's more related to slang. How about choice B? An unusually large crowd. Unusually is an academic adverb. Large is an adjective, which is used in proper English. It's not a word that was created on the street or by improper use of language. So B stays as a potential choice. Let's take a look at C. A whole bunch of unexpected people. Whole bunch. A whole bunch of money. A whole bunch of viewers. This is wrong because this is not academic. This is slang. Therefore, C goes away. As you can see, having an intuition about slang is quite important here. But at least if you have not seen a certain word in an academic book or in SAT passages, you can consider that word slang. That is our reference, and this is how we're going to identify which words are slang and which aren't. An enormous crowd of unparalleled nature. What does that mean? Well, this choice is very long. And choice B, an unusually large crowd, is a little bit shorter. An enormous crowd is an unusually large crowd. When you say crowd, we already understand that these people are random people. So therefore saying unparalleled people or people of an unparalleled nature is extra information that we really don't need because this complicates the text a little bit more. Therefore, in choice D, there is unnecessary repetition. We should remember that simpler choices are most of the time more preferred choices because it's easier to understand them and there's no unnecessary repetition. Saying an enormous crowd of people who never met before is going to be longer than an enormous crowd. Therefore, I eliminated D. And therefore, B is the right answer here. It does not use any type of slang or words from the streets or words from our daily conversations, and therefore B is correct.